Hello, welcome to my review for Peter Rabbit, the brand new reimagining of the Peter Rabbit stories as written by Beatrix Potter back in the beginning of the 1900s. Classic children's series of books that I never read, that I was always aware of when I was a kid. There was this allure to the Peter Rabbit stories. I remember seeing like a box set of all of them and just looking at the covers and being really like, oh wow, this looks great, but I never got it, and so I never read it, never had any emotional investment in it, so I'm going into this movie with no kind of preconceived notions of what the Peter Rabbit story needs to be. I kind of grew up on Roald Dahl and Enid Blyton, stuff like that, so I don't even know what the tone is of those original stories. But from what I understand, this film takes it in a little bit of a different direction. Probably isn't really that true to the source material, not that it needs to be really, but it blends live action with CGI as the rabbits and the animals in the film are done digitally, obviously. And we have the voice talents of people like James Corden, who plays Peter Rabbit. Daisy Ridley's in this. Margot Robbie, who I didn't even recognize. I saw the name of the credits, I was like, wow, okay. And then the human cast is pretty good too. We have Sam Neill in quite a memorable early part of the film. He has this role of McGregor, who I believe is a character from the books, a farmer who the rabbits try and steal food from. He kind of is out of the picture by the first 10 minutes of the film, and his nephew, played by Donald Gleason, Thomas McGregor, who isn't even aware he had an uncle out in the countryside, he comes over to kind of take over the farm and stuff, but really he just wants to sell it because he's a career man, and we get kind of a prologue to his character where we see him working at Harrods in London. He's a very kind of smarmy, kind of particular person. But he kind of loses his rag when he doesn't get the promotion that he wants, and so they fire him. So he goes off to his uncle's farm and tries to do up the house to sell it, and encounters these rabbits who live on the property in the area and who are trying to, you know, get food to live from his garden. And he very much, just like his uncle, just wants to kill them. We also have a character called Bee, who surely had to be named after Beatrix Potter, played by Rose Byrne, who is this kind of really warm, kind-centered person at the heart of this film. Like, I really loved the way she played her, and she felt like this just very mothering presence in the film for the animals. I mean, she loves the animals. You know, she kind of accepts them as part of the area in which she lives. She's a very close neighbor to the McGregor farm. I won't even call it a farm really, but just the house and the garden and everything. And so the rabbits, you know, they just want to get their food, but they also kind of like getting up to a little bit of mischief, and Peter Rabbit certainly is a character who really likes to antagonize the McGregor family. Because when the Sam Neill's character, the elderly McGregor, leaves, they take over the house. The rabbits take over the house. Finally, we got the garden, we got the food or whatever. But then the new McGregor comes in, and Donald Gleason is great in the film. You know, he really has that kind of smarmy edge to him that a little bit of which we saw in the Star Wars movies with Hux. He gets into those kind of angry moments and is really convincing as that kind of goofy, kind of cartoony villain. But I really liked how his character had redeeming qualities, and how you really understood through a few snippets of dialogue that maybe kids wouldn't catch why he is the way he is, why he's so highly strung. And the romance that develops between him and Bee, I thought was really sweet, you know, and how the rabbit's just, oh, I can't believe that she likes that guy and everything. I kind of like that. There's some slapstick humor in the film that gets very Home Alone-esque at times with Thomas and the rabbits trying to get at each other, but really it's Peter Rabbit and his kind of vendetta against McGregor, and they're just kind of pushing each other's buttons, and the stakes are getting higher every time they pull a prank on each other. And you know, literally you're seeing Donald Gleason kind of getting blown off the top of his house into his garden, and I kind of really like that slapstick, and both from just how fun it was, but also the visual effects and the stuntmen that must have worked on this to make it look so seamless, because it really does look like Donald Gleason is getting blown, you know, down a set of stairs, and it's really well done. I thought the animation on the animals is mostly really good. At times you could really tell they weren't really interacting with the real life action plates. Most of the time it was really good, and especially just getting expression at the rabbits' faces and stuff when they look sad. Obviously you can get the ears down and stuff, but I really liked that. I remember Mark Kermode recently was talking about how much he hated, or at least was really put off by James Corden's voice acting in this film. I think I'm right on that. So I was expecting this to be really grating and just like, oh my god, it's so hard to get through. But I didn't mind him, actually. I don't really like James Corden in general. Nothing against him, but he just, I don't know, just annoys me a little bit. There's just films I've seen him in where he just stands out and just kind of takes me out of it. But here I thought he was actually, he was okay, and I like the character of Peter Rabbit and how he, grew to realize that really I'm kind of the problem here too. I'm the one who's pushing the buttons of this guy. And so it wasn't just this black and white kind of, good guys versus evil bad guy. There was shades of grey and stuff, and really the end of the film is about Peter saying, yeah, I messed up too. So we need to just move past this. So I really like that element of the film. A lot of jokes fell flat, a lot of jokes just like, there's a lot of modern music that's brought in, then you have these birds flying around singing along like a music video. Really hated that stuff, but it's for kids, the core audience for this film is for kids, and so I think that as a kids movie, it's a pretty damn good one. I think kids are going to really enjoy it. Going in as a 30-year-old guy, I don't think it's really my movie, but I still kind of enjoyed it. It was one of those things where I went into town, and this was showing before a film I was going to see that I really wanted to see, so just to kill some time, went in to see it, and I had a good time with this film. It's not very good, it's really messy at times in terms of a lot of the logic, like how the rabbits will be in the back of a truck, kind of just talking amongst themselves, and clearly the humans in the front of the cab could see them in their peripheral vision, but they don't. There's a scene where Thomas is kind of standing in his garden, Bee is over by her house going, oh, hey, do you want to come over for dinner today? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And the rabbits are just pelting him with fruit. And he's like, but he's trying not to sell it. And she can't see that, even though there's fruit splattering all over his shirt. So there are things like that where like, so that just doesn't make sense, So these little kind of lapses in logic. I mean, you're not going to get airtight logic in a film like this, but there are those moments where it kind of lets itself down a little bit in that regard. But what can I say? I quite enjoyed it. It's not great, but it's pretty good. It was enjoyable. I liked the setting, the atmosphere, and the earnestness of Rose Byrne's performance as Bee. And that central romance, which there's something about this guy who really seems so unlikable at the beginning. And by the end of it, rooting for him to get together with this woman, I liked that. I really did actually enjoy that element of the film. And while the plot, the story of the rabbits kind of, that there isn't too much depth there, but there really shouldn't be either. Maybe there are fans of the books who are like, oh, this shit's all over the legacy. That's fine. I liked also how they would tell the backstory of Peter Rabbit and how his parents are gone, and when we would hear that backstory, we would go into this kind of 2D classy animation style. It felt like the covers of the books coming to life in 2D animation. I thought that looked really good. I almost thought it would be great if the movie was like that, but I get why they go with live action to make it a bit more accessible and maybe sell it more as this movie. But yeah, what can I say? The actors really committed to the cartooniness of the story as well, which I really thought was commendable. There's a couple of funny bits in there too, and there's also some fourth wall breaking that was kind of a little bit ill-advised, I think, maybe. There's a bit where Thomas is kind of talking about his allergy or something, and Peter Rabbit's like, oh, don't use that as a crutch, I hate it when people say that, but there are people who have serious problems, and I recognize that. And he looks in the camera, don't send me any letters, and it's just like, really? That was just... I mean, it's designed to take you out of it, but I mean, it really took me out of it, and I was like, okay, that was a bit strange, but it is what it is. Peter Rabbit, it was a good time, and I wouldn't mind watching it again with, future kids, or with my, my sister or something like that. So, overall, it was okay.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause